When it comes to picking my favourite video games of all time, there's one series I hold dearly to my heart. The journey of Kratos and Atreus has always felt deeply personal, brutal, raw, but also surprisingly human. And with God of War Ragnarok, Santa Monica Studio delivered something unforgettable. So today, we're going for the Platinum Trophy in God of War Ragnarok, a journey through every moment, every realm, and every challenge. There are a total of 36 trophies for us to collect to get the Platinum, and it is rated at a 4 out of 10 for difficulty, will require one playthrough, and will take you approximately 50 hours to complete. Our journey can be divided up into 3 parts, and in part 1 we'll enjoy the story and earn a few trophies naturally along the way. Part 2 is basically cleaning up all of the collectibles, favors, and anything that we missed across the realms. And finally, part 3 is where we will take on the hardest fights in the game to close out the Platinum. So let's dive into God of War Ragnarok and earn that Platinum Trophy. So our journey begins 3 years after the events of God of War 2018, and Fimbulwinter has taken hold of the 9 realms. Time itself feels frozen, and the air is heavy with the unspoken tension here between Kratos and Atreus. However, just like everything else in the 9 realms, there is no time to wait, and Freya ambushes the pair whilst they are travelling back home. What makes this fight so different compared to many others in God of War is that Kratos merely just defends himself and doesn't actually try to kill Freya. Jeepers, that scared me. The pair return home, however, it's not safety that greets them, it's silence. Fenrir, one of Atreus' wolves, is unfortunately sick, and it appears as though he is about to pass away. As Fenrir passes away, Atreus utters words which then allows him to imbue Fenrir's soul into his knife. No sooner Fenrir passes away, Kratos then tells Atreus that it is now time to train. Here is where we get to see the initial tension between Kratos and Atreus, where Kratos wants to become a better father, but he just has no idea how to. Instead of training, Atreus demands that he should be allowed to bury Fenrir, and Kratos allows this. However, after several hours, Atreus hasn't returned, and Kratos sets out to track him, and he comes along some bear tracks. Not only is there a bear on the loose, Kratos is also then ambushed by a whole host of enemies, and these also pose a significant danger to Atreus. After fighting off some waves of enemies and then finding the end of Atreus' tracks, we are then attacked by a bear, and here we can earn the trophy, a grisly encounter. The bear attack is brutal and bloody and completely wild. However, after Kratos defeats the bear, something unexpected happens. The bear transforms back into Atreus.
What do you think of the outfit?
Yeah, sick.
That's Johnny's shoes and Johnny's pants at the moment. I'm looking for the whole...
A grisly encounter. Battle the bear. The pair then return home, dumbfounded by Atreus' new abilities, and if the day couldn't get any worse, 2 unexpected visitors show up. It's exactly who we didn't want it to be. Thor. Ah, here he is. Our man. Thor and Odin arrive, and they are calm, cold, and terrifying. Odin does most of the talking and demands that Atreus stop searching for Tyr. Kratos disagrees to the deal with Odin, and then Thor steps in but demands a different type of conversation. However, this is not just a fight between these two. Thor is out for revenge after the death of his 2 sons. Now, this fight with Thor is honestly one of the best introductions to a video game I have ever had, and it will go down in my top 5 fights of all time. And after successfully defeating Thor, we get to earn the trophy Blood Debt. Blood Debt. Battle the God of Thunder.
What?
After everything has calmed down, Kratos demands to know why Atreus has been searching for Tyr. Atreus then takes him to this mythical area which shows a prophecy that Tyr is leading an army against Odin when Ragnarok occurs. However, Mimir believes that Odin killed Tyr, yet Atreus believes that he is imprisoned somewhere, so the pair decide to find Tyr. Now this pretty much marks the end of the introduction of the game, and then we are allowed to upgrade our skills and weapons from this point onwards. And here is where I got to unlock the trophy, Knock Off the Rust, for upgrading my first skill. Knock off the rust. Purchase a skill. And so with the help of some old friends, Brock and Sindri, the pair then travelled to Svartalfheim to find Tyr. After navigating through Svartalfheim and all of the mines, the pair successfully find Tyr. However, there is something odd about him. Tyr appears to be broken and passive. He flinches at the thought of war and avoids every question about his past. For Kratos, this seems rather strange and even a little bit suspicious. However, trusting his son Atreus, he lets this go. Kratos and Atreus convince Tyr to come back with them to Midgard. However, he refuses to fight or pick up a weapon. With the group successfully back at Midgard, Brock has a few upgrades for our armor, and here we get to earn the Spitshine trophy for upgrading a piece of armor. Upgrade each bit of armor. Oh, Spitshine! Upgrade one piece of armor. Fimble winter continues to deepen, and so does the divide between father and son. Kratos is very cautious and doesn't believe that Tyr is the answer. However, Atreus decides to follow his instincts and disappears into the woods to find Freya. The meeting between the two is tense and crackling with mistrust. Yet somehow Atreus manages to achieve a spark in Freya, and he offers her peace, not with words but with his actions. Atreus needs Freya's help to open up the gates to the other 9 realms to get help from everyone else to stop Odin. However, Atreus makes the mistake of asking her to join them, and she then loses her mind and sends them off. However, there is still hope. Atreus then returns home, and the group decides to travel to Alfheim in order to seek out Groa, the Knowledge Keeper. In the heart of Alfheim, beneath the binding light and the ancient ruins, the group stumbles upon Groa's prophecy. This vision everyone believes is set in stone, that the world will fall and Ragnarok is the end. However, the prophecy that we see is not like this at all. Groa foresaw Odin's defeat, not by fate or by prophecy, but by choice. Free will, a future that in fact can be changed. This is a major story point in the game, and it shatters everything that Atreus and Kratos thought they knew, that it isn't the end of the world that they're walking towards, and they can actually save everyone. The group then return home. However, Groa's secret echoes through the group like a bell that won't stop ringing. The prophecy in sense should be a good thing that instills hope in the group. However, it actually divides them. Tyr is deeply disturbed and anxious and evasive of any questions. Atreus, however, is wide-eyed and full of questions and hope, whereas Kratos, who doesn't believe in destiny, believes that this new path is now no less dangerous than it was before. Atreus falls asleep that night, and instead of waking up in Sindri's house in the morning, he then finds himself in Jotunheim, where he meets Angrboda. With the help of Angrboda, we then learn more about the prophecies, and here we begin to see that Atreus cannot escape from Loki. No. However, Angrboda also has a prophecy of her own that she must fulfill. She helps educate Atreus on what it means to be a giant, and then gives him these marbles, which are the souls of the giants. Angrboda then entrusts that Atreus will use these marbles appropriately and fulfill her destiny. However, Angrboda forgets to tell Atreus that her grandmother, Gryla, has been hoarding these marbles and stealing the souls from people throughout the realm. The pair then decide to fight Gryla and destroy her cauldron, and here is where you'll get to earn the trophy, the cauldron. The cauldron. Destroy Gryla's cauldron. Atreus then decides that he has seen enough of Jotunheim and decides to return home. However, instead of returning to the sanctuary of the tree with Brock and Sindri, Atreus returns to the original home in Midgard. Here he is ambushed by Hellwalkers, however Kratos arrives and saves the day. After defeating all of the enemies, Kratos is however ambushed by Vanadis. As we are about to defeat the Valkyrie, she turns into an unexpected visitor. However, Freya does not return to us in order to enact revenge. She is no longer Odin's Valkyrie, she is Freya, warrior queen of the Vanir, and she is ready to fight for the 9 realms. And she decides in this moment to rejoin the fight as an equal to both Kratos and Atreus, and her vengeance now has a purpose. And after completing these cutscenes, we then earn the Backyard Brawl trophy for battling the mysterious Valkyrie. Backyard Brawl. Battle the mysterious Valkyrie. So with Freya now back in the group, we then venture to Vanaheim. After Freya and Odin's marriage ended, Odin tethered Freya to Vanaheim as a form of control and punishment. And so she asked for Kratos' help to break the tether so that she can help fight and defend the 9 realms. During our initial investigations of Vanaheim, we then meet Freya's brother, Freyr. We find the source of the curse, however it is bound by the world tree roots, and as we go to destroy it, an unexpected surprise occurs.
Come on!
Gna+Hrolf, the protector of the great tree roots, defends this curse. And so with the help of Freya, we need to defeat Gna+Hrolf in order to break Freya's curse, and this will earn us the Root of the Problem trophy.
It's going back in!
We will not let it!
I have to break his hold on me, and you are in the way! That's the ritual!
Okay. Root of the Problem. Battle Gna+Hrolf. With Gna+Hrolf now defeated, we also earn our next trophy, called How It Started, for equipping our very first enchantment. How It Started. Equip an enchantment. With Freya's curse now broken, we return to Freya's camp, and then here I decided to complete a couple of side quests. Generally, each world has a few side quests that helps advance the story of all of the side characters that you meet along in your journey. Now, up until this point, I hadn't completed any side quests, and Kratos was actually starting to feel a little bit underpowered, so I decided to get a few done. So we met Lunda, who was another blacksmith working with Brock, and we decided to go and find her orb, which would earn us the trophy New Friends. New Friends. Fetch Lunda's orb. We then had one last quest to complete in order to get rid of Freya's tie to Odin. Freya had to retrieve the sword Mardol, which was plunged into this stone when Freya and Odin got married. By taking the sword out of this stone, it signifies the end of the marriage and then allows us to achieve the trophy It Was a Good Day. Nice, we've got the sword. Let's go! Awesome. It was a good day. Retrieve Mardol. Kratos and Freya return to the World Tree and find Atreus in a terrible mood. He refuses to answer Kratos when he asks where he went and who he saw, and when he is probed further and asked if it was Odin, Atreus gets extremely angry and leaves.
Listen.
Let go of me!
Listen!
Let go!
Uh-oh.
Atreus! Sindri, just try to keep control!
Atreus, fueled by rage and betrayal, decides it is in his best interest to go to Asgard, and as he is climbing up the wall, we meet the infamous Heimdall. Heimdall wants to kill Atreus, however Odin arrives in the nick of time and welcomes Atreus with open arms and gives him his own room in his house. Odin has a special plan for Atreus, however he wants Loki, not Atreus, to help him piece together this ancient otherworldly artifact. This artifact is the mask, and Odin believes that it isn't just a mask, it is a key. Odin believes that this mask will grant access to all the hidden knowledge of the universe, and so he sends Atreus off to Helheim in order to find the first fragment. While Atreus is off in Asgard, Kratos and Freya are left to chase the threads of fate. They arrive at the place of the Norns, who are a mysterious being that weave the destiny of gods and mortals alike. Here they seek answers on their destiny and whether they can change their story. However, the Norns reveal that Kratos will die at Heimdall's hand. This prophecy does not instill fear in Kratos, instead it seems to light a fire within him. He will always protect Atreus at all costs, and if that means he needs to kill Heimdall, then he will do it, and together the pair decide to create the Draupnir spear. Heimdall has the ability of foresight, and Kratos therefore cannot rely on the Leviathan axe or the blades of chaos. Instead, Kratos needs to craft the Draupnir spear, as this weapon is completely unpredictable, and therefore Heimdall will have no idea what Kratos' next move is. This is Kratos' answer to the prophecy. Now, in order to earn the Rebel Leader trophy, along the way when crafting the Draupnir spear, there are a whole heap of smith elements and relics that you can pick up, which then completes the side quest for returning the Hammer of the Rebellion to Durlin. Rebel Leader, return the Hammer of the Rebellion. With the Draupnir spear now forged, we then return to Atreus in Helheim, and instead of finding a Mars fragment, he then frees Garm, who then unleashes hell tears all over the realm. With Garm now freed, Atreus feels extremely guilty and then asks Odin to return home. Atreus returns in the nick of time to help the group fight off a whole bunch of Hellwalkers, and here we get to pop the trophy, Spartan Ways. Spartan Ways, remember the Spartan teachings. With Atreus back, him and Kratos then return to Helheim in order to fix the mess that Atreus made and destroy Garm once and for all. This Garm fight is absolutely epic and is a key pivotal moment in the story, as we get to see that Kratos begins to trust Atreus and believe in him. The dynamic between the two certainly changes after this fight, and after defeating Garm we get to earn the Off the Leash trophy. Off the Leash. Battle Garm. So now the next key part of Ragnarok was to set Skull and Hati free. Odin had secretly slowed down time and had put Skull and Hati to sleep, and these two are responsible for chasing the sun and the moon across the sky. By freeing Skull and Hati, we restore the flow of time and therefore begin the events of Ragnarok. So with the events of Ragnarok beginning, Kratos marches towards his most inevitable battle yet. Armed with the Draupnir spear, Kratos must fight Heimdall, the guardian of Asgard, who can see every move before it has happened. However, what Heimdall did not expect was for Kratos to be armed with the Draupnir spear, and his arrogance is what inevitably got him killed. However, after defeating Heimdall, Kratos has a choice on whether to spare his life or kill him. And here is where we can see that no matter how hard Kratos tries, he will never be able to escape his past as a god killer. Comeuppance. Battle Heimdall. With Heimdall dead, Atreus then decides to return to Asgard in order to help Odin complete the mask and steal it from him to gain knowledge on how they can defeat him during Ragnarok. Atreus completes the mask, however Thor is enraged at the knowledge of Heimdall's death, and then Atreus escapes back to the World Tree with the mask. With everyone waiting at the World Tree, a plan is devised to march on Asgard and attack Odin. However, Tyr breaks his identity and reveals that he has actually been Odin the entire time.
Talking to you! You never shut up!
For the face, Odin.
Odin tries to escape with the mask, however Kratos' quick thinking stops him before he can get away.
It's like war after all.
Wow. With the events of Ragnarok now destined to continue, Kratos and Atreus travel to Muspelheim in order to recruit Surtur to fight for them and destroy Asgard as the prophecy foretold. After Surtur sacrifices himself, Kratos and Atreus must battle Odin's new Valkyries, Hrist and Mist. And after defeating them, you get to earn the trophy Better Together. Better Together. Battle Hrist and Mist. So with our final mission complete, we had one task left to complete, and that was to defeat Odin. However, I couldn't go in defeating Odin with basic armor, so in order to earn the Dragon Slayer trophy, you need to craft all of the dragon scaled armor, and I did this before fighting Odin. Dragon Slayer, craft the dragon scaled armor set. And so after Kratos defeats Odin, Atreus confronts him, and Odin states that he will never stop searching for all the answers and power in the world. And so because of that answer, Atreus then takes Odin's soul as he dies in his arms and imbues it into one of the marbles that Angrboda gave him. Sindri then destroys the marble, and this then marks the end of Odin's life. Ragnarok. Battle the Allfather. And so, after everything returns to normal, Atreus tells Kratos that he needs to go and search for the remaining giants, and it is something in his heart that he sees he can only do by himself. Kratos, showing how much he has changed as a father, lets Atreus go and trusts him to do the work that he needs to do. This marks the end of the game, and then Kratos and Freya are left to clean up the remaining objectives around Midgard. So the first trophy that we got was at the very start of the cleanup, and I'm surprised I didn't get this done earlier, and this was the Besties trophy for petting Specky and Svanna. Besties. Pet Specky and Svanna. Now, a majority of your cleanup will be spent completing miscellaneous quests and then getting all of the collectibles along the way. So the next trophy I got was Funeral for a Friend, and this was for attending Brock's funeral and completing the side quest. Funeral for a Friend. Attend the funeral. And so from here, I decided to go through each of the realms individually and clean up all of the collectibles and side quests that I had to do on each one. So I started in Muspelheim, and here I would earn the trophy Trials by Fire for completing all of the trials on Muspelheim. Now this is likely going to be the longest grind out of all of the collectible and side quest trophies that you need to do, as there are around 15 quests that you need to get done on Muspelheim, and they are actually quite challenging. Finally, Trials by Fire. Complete the Trials of Muspelheim. I then returned to Vanaheim, and here I got to pop the true trophies. How It's Going for fully repairing the Amulet of Yggdrasil, and then Full Belly for obtaining all of the apples of Idun and the horns of Bloodmead. This will pop a slow mo in it? Yeah. How It's Going. Fully repair the Amulet of Yggdrasil. Full Belly. Obtain all of the apples of Idun and horns of Bloodmead. Now there are honestly so many collectibles in God of War Ragnarok, and they all generally popped here at the end after I'd run through every single realm, and so the next trophy that I popped was Invasive Species, and this was for completing all of the crater hunts on Vanaheim. Invasive Species. Complete all of the crater hunts. Hey! And so then finally I was at the end of the cleanup of all of the 9 realms and popped the final 6 collectible related trophies. Pure of Heart. Return the stags of the 4 seasons. Fair bit bullshit if it starts. Rightful Place. Return all of the Lindworms to Ratatoska. Ready for Commitment. Fully upgrade 1 armor set. The Florist. Collect 1 flower from each of the 9 realms. The librarian, collect all of the books. The curator, collect all of the artifacts. Now I had one final quest to complete, and that was for freeing the Lindbakker, and after doing that we popped our final side quest trophy. Making amends. Free the Lindbakker. And so finally came the hardest 2 trophies of the game. These are the trophies, the True Queen and Grave Mistake, where you have to battle Gna and Gna+Hrolf, and they are easily the 2 hardest fights in the entire game. Now I consider myself pretty decent at the God of War games, however these 2 fights did take me around 2 to 3 hours each to complete, but after a little bit of persistence I got them both done and popped my next 2 trophies. I finished Life is Strange 1, the True Queen. Battle Gna. Grave Mistake. Battle Gna+Hrolf. And so then after defeating Gna+Hrolf, I then had access to all of the materials that I needed to craft my final shield and sword hilts to pop my final 2 trophies and then my next platinum. There we go, Phalanx. Obtain all shields. Collector. Obtain all relics and sword hilts. And the bear and the wolf. Collect all trophies. God of War Ragnarok was an absolute blast to platinum, and I'd honestly put this in my top 5 games of all time. So like always guys, if you could please leave a like and comment down below and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.